December 18th, 1972. Hanoi, North Vietnam. The air above Hanoi hums with an unnatural stillness. Then, at 7:45 p.m., it begins. High over the Red River, silver giants emerge from the darkness. B52 stratofortresses, each the size of a city block, moving in perfect formation at 30,000 feet. Their engines, 8 apiece, roar like thunder. Below, the streets are blocked out. Only the faint glow of cigarette tips flicker in the cold winter air. In one of those houses, a young girl clutches her mother's hand as the first sirens wail. On the outskirts of the city, anti-aircraft crews scramble to their posts. In the command center of the Vietnamese People's Air Defense Air Force, Lieutenant Colonel Pham Thun studies the radar screen, a constellation of moving dots drifting south from Laos. "They're coming," he says quietly. Far above, inside a B-52G cockpit, Major Robert Goodson, pilot of Olive 03, adjusts his oxygen mask and checks his instruments. "Altitude steady," his co-pilot murmurs. "Bomb doors armed." The intercom crackles with static. They've done this dozens of times before, over Laos, Cambodia, even Hanoi last spring. But tonight feels different. The briefing said the air defenses were broken, their missile stocks depleted. The radar screens tell another story. As the bombers approach their target boxes, a command shouts across Hanoi's underground bunkers, "Fire!" The night erupts in flame. From hidden launch sites around the city, SA-2 guideline missiles streak upward, long white tails carving the darkness. Dozens of them, one after another. Goodson looks out his window and freezes. Jesus Christ, they're firing the whole damn sky. Within seconds, explosions flash like lightning across the horizon. Shrapnel rattles against aluminum fuselage. Alarms scream inside the cockpit. Over the radio, a calm voice from another B-52 whispers the unthinkable. "We're hit. We're going down." Hanoi burns below, but for the first time, the fire climbs upward too, toward the bombers that once seemed untouchable. Operation Linebacker II has begun. And for 11 nights, the skies over Hanoi will become the most dangerous airspace on Earth.
Night of December 19th, 1972, over Hanoi. The city has not slept. Beneath shattered rooftops, families huddle in basements lit by candles. Overhead, the thunder returns. The second night of bombing begins. In the darkness beyond the Red River, the Soviet-supplied S-75 Dwina missile batteries, known to the Americans as SA-2s, prepare their reloads. Technicians work by red torchlight, sweat steaming from their faces in the December cold. Each missile is as tall as a telephone pole and loaded by hand. Crews whisper to each other in clipped Vietnamese, timing every motion. In Battery 59, Commander Nguyen Van Viet peers through binoculars. On his radar screen, 3 moving dots converge from the northwest. B-52s flying at 31,000 feet. Range 45 kilometers, the operator reports. Steady altitude. Viet nods. Lock on target 2. Prepare launch. The missiles roar to life, columns of fire that shake the jungle floor. In the control bunker, operators track the radar trace as it climbs. Then, 2 flashes on the scope. "Direct hit," someone shouts. Outside, the men listen. They cannot see the sky, but they hear it, the distant rumble of an explosion that does not sound like thunder. At that same moment, 30,000 feet above, inside Ash 01, Captain John McGrath feels the aircraft shudder. Warning lights flare red. "We've lost hydraulics, left wing's gone." The giant bomber rolls sideways, flames streaming from his fuselage. The crew bails out into a storm of anti-aircraft fire and tracer rounds. Some parachutes open, others burn in the wind. Down below, farmers run into the fields pointing at the falling wreckage. A dark shape, flaming, massive, plunges into the rice paddies north of Phuc Yên. Hanoi's air defense network crackles with static and cheers. For the first time in the war, a B-52 has fallen inside North Vietnam. By dawn, the wreck lies smoldering among shattered bamboo. Children gather fragments of aluminum the size of doors. One wing still bears the faded words, U.S. Air Force. In the U.S. base at Utapo, Thailand, stunned officers gather around the mission board. 15 lost in 2 nights, a technician whispers. 15. The B52, the invincible symbol of American air power, has met its match in a city barely large enough to appear on a map. General John C. Meyer, commander of Strategic Air Command, fumes as he reads the loss report. We're hitting them with everything we have. How the hell are they still standing? In Hanoi, the answer lies underground. Beneath the French-built trenches of Gia Lam, technicians reload launch rails, civilians carry missiles on bicycles, and radar crews reassembled units bombed the night before. The system breathes, breaks, and rebuilds every hour. By the third night, Hanoi's defenses are no longer hiding, they are fighting back with the precision of an orchestra. From that moment on, the B-52 crews know. Every time they enter North Vietnam's airspace, they are flying into a trap built by men who refuse to surrender their sky.
December 20th, 22nd, 1972, the air war above Hanoi intensifies. By the 4th day, the B-52 crews have learned to fear what they cannot see. The radar screens aboard their bombers bloom with ghosts, flickering pings that could be weather or missiles. At 30,000 feet, the night horizon flashes with the burn of engines and the silent arcs of SA-2s racing skyward. Inside the flight deck of Ruby 02, Major William Stockdale tightens his grip on the yoke. Sweat trickles down his neck despite the cold. His gunner murmurs, "They've got our number again." A tone screams in the cockpit, radar lock. "SAM launch, 3 o'clock high." Stockdale banks hard, the giant aircraft groaning under stress. The inertial navigation system rattles loose, the whole cabin trembles as flares drop like white comets behind them. Below, the jungle glows with flame, but the missiles keep climbing. On the ground, the Vietnamese radar operators are calm. They have learned every trick of the American ECM, the electronic countermeasures that jam radar. When one station is blinded, another lights up. The network, codenamed Thonsum, the Thunder God Grid, guides the missiles through layers of interference. At the command post, Colonel Trenmont traces circles on his plotting board. He says, "They think they can hide behind their noise, but radar listens for what the noise tries to cover." Each missile launch is calculated, never wasted. They fire 2 in a pattern, one to confuse, one to kill. Above the clouds, another B-52 vanishes from the radar, replaced by a flare of light. Over the next 3 nights, 11 B-52s fall. The sky over Hanoi becomes a graveyard of silver giants. Debris rains over suburbs and rice paddies. Twisted fuselages, torn uniforms, oxygen tanks, parachutes fluttering down like ghosts. For the people of Hanoi, those parachutes become symbols. Children race toward fields to collect fabric scraps, their mothers shouting for them to take cover. Some of the downed airmen are captured, others never found. In Utapao and Andersen Air Base in Guam, the mood turns grim. Crews prepare for new missions knowing half the squadron won't return. Mechanics paint tiny black bombs on fuselages for each completed sortie. The humor has drained from the hangars. Someone scrawls on a locker, "Welcome to the Hanoi Roulette." Yet the bombing continues. Every 12 hours, waves of B-52s rise again into the monsoon night. Strategic Air Command calls it saturation. The crews call it suicide with orders. At the same time, in the Soviet embassy in Hanoi, advisors track radar footage. They are astonished. No other war had seen such massive bombers fall to Earth. One notes dryly, "In World War II, even the Germans couldn't hit them like this." But Hanoi's victory is paid in fire. The city burns. The Bach Mai Hospital, the Cam Tien neighborhood, and railway yards are flattened. Thousands die beneath the rubble. And still, the bombers come. By Christmas Eve, both sides are exhausted, but neither will yield. The Americans still believe air power can end the war. The Vietnamese are proving that willpower can outlast the sky.
December 24th to 26th, 1972, Hanoi, North Vietnam. The bombing pauses briefly on Christmas Eve. For the first time in a week, the night sky over Hanoi is clear. The survivors emerge from bunkers, blinking under a pale moon. Smoke drifts over ruins where neighborhoods once stood. At Bach Mai Hospital, a nurse named Lei Tihan bandages a child on a stretcher made of doors. Her hands are steady, though her eyes are hollow. Behind her, the remains of the hospital smolder, hit by B52 strikes that killed dozens of staff and patients. Nearby, civilians dig through rubble for family. The only sounds are coughing, shovels scraping brick, and the faint toll of a temple bell in the distance. But even in grief, the city refuses to die. On the outskirts of Ji-Alam, air defense crews reload their launchers. Radar stations repair broken antennae with salvaged wire. Soviet advisors help recalibrate the missile guidance systems using spare parts scavenged from destroyed sites. At 10 p.m. on Christmas night, radio intercepts crackle with a warning. They're coming again. The respite ends. In the command bunker beneath downtown Hanoi, General Phung Te Tai, commander of air defenses, studies the incoming wave. The Americans are flying tighter formations, 20 B-52s at once, escorted by F-4 Phantoms and Wild Weasels. Their bomb loads exceed 100 tons apiece. The sky trembles. When the first missile launches, it illuminates the clouds like lightning. The second follows, then the third. In a single hour, over 100 SAMs scream upward. The city flashes white, then red, then black again. Above, in Brown 03, Captain Jack Broughton feels the turbulence before the hit. A thunderclap shakes the aircraft. An orange glow fills the cockpit. Engine fire, losing altitude. He ejects into the night. The cold bites instantly. For a moment, the city of Hanoi spins below him, a checkerboard of fire and darkness. His parachute opens. He sees another bomber explode above the clouds, its wreckage raining like embers. On the ground, gunners cheer when the flaming debris plunges into the fields near Taiyuan. They can't see the man floating silently down, an enemy, yes, but also a human being. The villagers will find him the next morning, shivering and bleeding, and bring him tea before turning him over to soldiers. By dawn on December 26th, 15 B-52s have been destroyed since the campaign began. It is the heaviest loss in Strategic Air Command's history. In Washington, analysts are stunned. The Pentagon's confidence in air power shatters. One Air Force report admits, the density of Hanoi's defenses is unprecedented. The enemy adapts faster than we can react. But in Hanoi, no one celebrates. Thousands of civilians are dead. Entire blocks of the city are gone. Yet even as the sun rises over the smoke, loudspeakers broadcast a simple message. We are still here. The war in the skies has reached its breaking point. Both sides are bleeding, one in pride, the other in flesh. And as the last wave of B-52s circles back for one more strike, neither knows that within days the bombings will stop and the world will change.
December 29, 1972, the final night of Linebacker II. After 11 days of fire, the sky over Hanoi is a ruin. The air still smells of jet fuel, metal, and burnt soil. Searchlights flick weakly through the haze, beams fractured by lingering smoke. The city's heart beats in slow, stubborn rhythm, broken buildings, surviving hearts. In a bunker beneath Trick Bok Lake, General Phung Te Tai listens to the radio chatter one last time. The intercepts are strange tonight. No incoming formation, no coordinates, no roar of engines from the west. The sound of silence feels heavier than any bomb. At 8 p.m., reconnaissance confirms it. The B-52s have turned back. The order ripples through the command chain. Crews in missile silos exhale for the first time in days. Mechanics collapse beside their launchers. In underground hospitals, doctors and patients weep together, not for joy, but from exhaustion. In a bomb crater near Kham Thien, Lei Thit Haunt and her neighbors light incense for the dead. Hundreds of families were lost when the Americans struck this street 2 nights before Christmas. They lined the crater with candles, their faint flames reflected in puddles of rainwater. The city glows softly in mourning. Thousands of miles away, in Omaha, Nebraska, inside Strategic Air Command headquarters, the atmosphere is equally grim. Commanders study loss reports.
15 B-52s destroyed, 33 crewmen dead, 33 captured or missing. One general mutters, "The unthinkable just happened. We lost the sky." Even President Richard Nixon, who had ordered the raids to pressure Hanoi into peace talks, is shaken. The operation meant to display overwhelming strength has instead revealed vulnerability. At the height of America's power, the myth of invincibility burns away like chaff under radar. In the Soviet embassy in Hanoi, advisors toast in quiet triumph. The SA-2 has spoken, and the B-52 has listened. But for the people of Hanoi, victory tastes of ashes. The hospitals overflow, the graves are shallow and fresh. The soldiers who manned the missile batteries dig through rubble to find their families. By New Year's Eve, the rain returns, soft, cold, cleansing. The streets fill with bicycles and carts again, moving between ruins. In the silence left by departing bombers, birds begin to return to the trees along the Red River. And somewhere deep in the American consciousness, a realization begins to root. That even the most powerful machine in the world can be undone, not by force, but by the will of those who refuse to break. The 11th night ends without gunfire. Only silence remains, vast, heavy, and eternal.
January 1973, Hanoi and Washington, D.C. The dawn after the raids looks almost unreal. A gray sun rises over the Red River, casting light through the haze of smoke and frost. The ruins of Hanoi stretch like open wounds, streets flattened into plains of brick dust, trees stripped bare, electric wires tangled like veins. Yet amid the devastation, people walk again. Women sweep rubble. Children chase each other between craters. The city, though wounded, breathes. For the first time in years, the sirens are silent. In a courtyard once filled with anti-aircraft guns, young radar operator Nguyen Thi Van sits with a notebook in her lap, sketching the silhouette of a B-52, its long wings and 6 engine pods. "They said it couldn't fall," she murmurs, but it did. At the same hour, half a world away, the war's architects face their reckoning. In the Pentagon, charts once meant to measure success now resemble casualty lists. 15 B-52s gone, more than 30 airmen dead, millions of dollars in hardware reduced to smoking wrecks. And for what? Hanoi still stands. General John C. Meyer, head of Strategic Air Command, stares at a photo taken by reconnaissance the day after the bombing. The Bach Mai airfield is damaged but intact. The bridges the bombers were meant to destroy are already under repair. The message is clear: air power alone cannot win this war. Inside the White House, President Nixon confers with Henry Kissinger. Their plan to bomb North Vietnam into concession has backfired. Instead, Linebacker II has hardened Hanoi's resolve and humiliated America's prestige abroad. But politically, the operation can still be spun. We've shown our strength. Now they'll come back to the table. In Hanoi, a similar conversation unfolds underground. General Vogn Giap listens to reports from the Air Defense Command. His voice remains calm, almost reflective. He says, "The Americans have taught us something valuable. They believe power is measured in tons, but the measure of victory is how long a people can endure." Days later, the Paris peace talks resume. On January 27, 1973, the Paris Peace Accords are signed. The United States agrees to withdraw its troops. The war, for America, is effectively over. But for those who fought in the sky, the scars remain. At Andersen Air Force Base in Guam, returning crews gather in silence. Some have empty seats in their debrief rooms. Chaplains read names over the loudspeaker. Names of men who vanished over Hanoi, whose parachutes never opened. In Hanoi, beneath a gray winter sky, captured airmen are marched through the streets, past the wreckage of their own machines. Crowds gather to watch but do not cheer. The faces of the prisoners, pale, shaken, are met not with hate, but with weary eyes that have seen too much. At Shrukbuk Lake, scavengers collect the last scraps of a fallen B-52. Its blackened fuselage rests half-submerged in the water, smoke still curling from the torn aluminum. Years later, the wreck will become a monument, a silent testament to both defiance and tragedy. Linebacker II was meant to end a war through fear. Instead, it ended with the world learning that fear alone cannot conquer determination. In the end, both nations claimed victory, but only one had to rebuild its capital from ashes, and did.
Late 1970s, across the Pacific. Years have passed since the last B52 left Southeast Asia, yet the echoes of that December sky still linger. In memory, in wreckage, in the quiet scars of those who lived beneath the bombs and those who dropped them. At Bach Mai, the rebuilt hospital stands over the ruins of its former self. Doctors still find bits of shrapnel buried in the courtyard when it rains. Some of the nurses from 1972 still work there, women who once treated the wounded by candlelight while the ceiling shook. When asked about that winter, one of them, Lathy Hench, only says, "The sky never sounded the same again." Far away in the United States, veterans of Linebacker II attend reunions where laughter is brittle and silence comes easily. Former pilot Jack Broughton, who bailed out over Hanoi, keeps a fragment of a SAM fin on his desk. He says, "They were better than we thought, and we were not as invincible as we believed." Military academies on both sides study the campaign for decades. For the Americans, it becomes a manual in the limits of strategic bombing, how technology without intelligence, or will without understanding, leads only to devastation. For the Vietnamese, it becomes a symbol of national endurance, proof that even the most advanced weapon can be outmatched by human resolve. Soviet engineers quietly celebrate their role, their SA-2 designs vindicated. Western analysts call it the day missile met bomber and changed warfare forever. Every conflict since, from Baghdad to Belgrade, will trace its lineage to the nights when Hanoi's sky lit up with fire and contrails. But beyond strategy and hardware lies something deeper. The people who survived remember the small things, the smell of ozone after a missile launch, the tremor in the ground when a bomber fell, the silence that followed, vast and fragile. At the B52 wreck site in Trukbak Lake, time moves differently. Children play on the shore where smoke once rose. Tourists photograph the twisted metal reflected in still water. The locals have built a shrine nearby, incense smoke rising where jet fuel once burned. In that reflection, the story of Linebacker II becomes clear. A war where the world's most powerful air fleet could burn a city to its bones, yet could not bend its spirit. And in the hearts of those who remember, the lesson endures. Power may command the sky, but only endurance can hold the ground. Hanoi, present day. Morning light spread softly across Ho Hu Tip, in the quiet Nak Ha neighborhood. The water lies still, reflecting the surrounding houses and the small bridge that crosses its edge. Beneath the surface, the rusted skeleton of a B-52 Stratofortress rests half submerged, twisted aluminum and torn steel, preserved by time. It is more than wreckage. It is the physical memory of the night the sky surrendered. A small plaque nearby reads, "Here lies part of a B-52, shot down on the night of December 27, 1972. Elderly residents walk their morning routes, carrying baskets of flowers past the lake. Children feed fish at the edge, unaware that beneath the calm green water lies the ghost of a warplane that once rained fire on their city. The ripples glint under sunlight, soft, ordinary, peaceful." For Hanoi, Linebacker II is not just a story of victory. It is a story of endurance. The capital that once trembled under 11 nights of fire now hums with life. New towers rise where rubble once stood. The roar of jet engines has been replaced by the buzz of motorbikes, laughter, and the rhythm of daily life. Yet the memory remains, not as anger, but as a quiet vow that no city should ever endure such nights again. In the Vietnam Military Museum, photographs line the walls. Missile crews standing beside their SA-2 launchers, searchlights slicing through smoke, bomb craters the size of ponds. The captions are simple, but the faces say everything: fatigue, defiance, and belief. Across the Pacific, in the United States, surviving airmen look back with equal reflection. At veterans' reunions, they share stories of that December sky. The panic of radar locks, the flash of missiles, the helplessness of falling through black clouds. One pilot, now old, holds a photo of his lost crew and says quietly, "We thought we commanded the sky, but the sky belonged to no one." As dusk falls over Ho Hu Tep, incense burns on the small martyr's altar beside the lake. The scent drifts across the water, mingling with the cool air and the faint rustle of leaves.
In the reflection of street lamps, the shape of the sunken B52 seems almost to float again, not in war, but in memory. Ho-Hu-Tep has become a mirror between past and peace. In the end, Linebacker II was not merely the last air battle of the Vietnam War. It was a reckoning between technology and endurance, between domination and survival. And here, where the wreck still sleeps beneath calm water, Hanoi remembers. Even the sky can fall, but the spirit of a people cannot.